Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Welcome back to episode 3 of the Quran series. We hope you like the series so far, and if you have any suggestions, please leave them down in the comments below. Today we're going to be talking about style of the Quran. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. With the word Quran repeated about 70 times, the Quran is unique in that it actually speaks about itself, its revealer, its purpose, its devotees, and its detractors. The author of this profound book is nowhere to be found on the cover. Rather, he reveals himself on every page, speaking with authority, offering compelling proofs, giving commandments to prophets, believers, and all of humanity. Perhaps one of the most visible stylistic features of the Quran is repetition, which comes in 3 different forms: repetitive phrases, repetitive themes, and repetitive stories. Let's look at all 3 of them in detail. Repetitive phrases such as, "Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny?" which appears a total of 31 times in chapter 55, and "Woe on that day to the deniers," which appears 10 times in chapter 77. Far from redundancy, the purpose of repetition in these 2 instances is to create an impact by reinforcing the point being made, to acknowledge Allah's many blessings in the former and deter people from denying Allah in the latter. This rhetorical device is still employed by many modern orators. One of the most notable examples is a repetition of "I have a dream" and "Let freedom ring" in Martin Luther King's 1963 famous speech. Repetitive themes such as the arguments for Allah's oneness, uniqueness, and power in chapters 16, 35, and 112, the comparison between paradise and hell in chapters 37, 39, 40, and 41, and the horrors of Judgment Day in chapters 77, 78, 79, 80, and 81. The purpose is to emphasize a recurring theme, for example, the reward of the believers and disbelievers, or present more details, for example, the testimony of bloodily organs and the fruit of the zaqqum tree. Repetitive stories, such as the story of Moses in chapters 7, 18, 26, and 28, and Abraham in chapters 2, 6, 19, and 37. The purpose is to reassure the prophet and focus on a different aspect of the life of these prophets. For example, the highlights of the story of Moses in chapter 7 are the arrogance of Pharaoh, the defeat of the magicians, and the suffering of the children of Israel. In chapter 26, the focus shifts to Moses' childhood, his unintentional killing of an Egyptian man, as well as his escape to Midian and his marriage. The fact that these repetitive themes and stories are perfectly consistent despite having been revealed over the course of 2 decades to an unlettered prophet is yet another proof of the divine source of the Quran. The Quran contains some fascinating numerical patterns. For example, paradise and hell are each repeated 77 times, angels and devils 88 times, world and hereafter 15 times, prayers, salawat, 5 times, the exact number of daily prayers, punishment 117 times, whereas forgiveness is repeated double that number, 234 times. Day is repeated 365 times, the average number of days in the year, days 30 times, the average number of days in the month, and month 12 times, the number of month in the year. Sarcasm is another common feature of the Quran, especially when it talks about the fate of those who ridicule the truth. So readers can expect to see a warning, such as, "Give them good news of a painful punishment." This style aims at paying the ridiculers back in kind, as well as adding more intensity to the warning. Many passages in the Quran utilize a preferential style called tafdil. That is to say, two things share a certain quality, but one of them supersedes the other. For example, the Quran says repeatedly that the people of Pharaoh were more powerful and resourceful than the people of Mecca. However, some structures look like tafdil but do not actually signify a comparison in quality. The assumption that both sides share the same quality but one is greater than the other is what causes confusion in most translations of the Quran. For example, when Surah 12, Ayat 33 suggests that going to prison is dearer to Joseph than committing adultery, this does not mean that either option is dear to him. Similarly, Surah 17, Ayat 84 suggests that the believer's way is better in guidance than that of the pagans, but in truth, the latter is not guided at all. Furthermore, Surah 11, Ayat 78 suggests that Lut instructs men that the single women of his nation are purer for marriage than other men, when other men are not pure for marriage in the first place. That was the end of the video. We hope you liked the video. Jazakumullah khair kasira. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell. Stay tuned for the next episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.